Session is resumed. Senator De Lima has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my fellow senators, mga minamahal kong kababayan, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. I feel privileged that I'm the second member, next only to another lady senator, to deliver the privileged speech in this 7th Congress and in this centennial year of the Senate. I just hope that our male counterparts would not take it grudgingly. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I rise on matters of personal and collective privilege concerning a number of issues that now dominate the news and divide our people. Our nation is in crisis. This crisis is the real and present danger posed by the illegal drug trade overwhelming our national fabric. Drug addiction, drug pushing, and drug-related crimes, including bribery and corruption of our public officials, and the penetration of our institutions by powerful drug syndicates threaten our government, our people, and our society. Any person undergoing a deep and profound personal crisis defends himself from the threat that brought the crisis into his life. In the same way, the nation must defend itself against the threat of the illegal drug trade lording over every aspect of our everyday lives. For so long, we have been complacent about the magnitude of the problem. We have been indifferent to the number of drug pushers that have invaded our communities. We stayed silent as our impoverished youth succumbed to the promise of temporary escape from their harsh and brutish life in the urban and rural areas and became drug dependents. This was the state of the nation in crisis under the threat of illegal drugs until the overwhelming voice of the people voted to office the anti-drug crusader and mayor of Davao City as President of the Republic, none other than President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. The President carried a clear and distinct, almost one-track message that reverberated in the consciousness of our people. It cascaded down to the smallest communities that are the victims of drug pushers and drug addicts. Finally, it was channeled back to the national level in the form of a resonating mandate that said, yes, Mayor Digong, rid us of this drug menace any which way you can. We are giving you that mandate to clean our city streets of drugs and, if need be, dispose of all drug lords and pushers the best way you see fit, hogtied and lifeless not being an exception. Mr. President, I agree. The nation is confronted with a drug crisis that has been ignored in focus for so many years. The nation must be saved. The people must be defended. War has been declared upon us, and so war must be waged. I am with President Duterte every step to the way in his war on drugs. I myself started the war on drugs at the National Bilibid Prison. On December 15, 2014, I personally led the raid on the drug lords' dens and took away their power over the rest of the prisoners. I isolated them in Building 14 of the National Penitentiary. This raid started at different entry points of the prison compound in order to catch the drug lords literally with their pants down. It can be described as systematically executed simultaneous rage on each and every drug lord's luxury cabal. I praise the President's determination to make this campaign the centerpiece of his administration when he essentially said, kahit wala na akong ibang gawin hanggang sa katapusan ng aking termino kung hindi wakasan ang salot ng droga sa bansang ito. I myself continued cleaning up the National Bilibid Prison of drugs in follow-up operations before I resigned as Secretary of Justice. This anti-drug campaign at the Bilibid eventually culminated with Oplan Galugad. Together with this is the confirmation that there is no Shabu laboratory inside the National Penitentiary. Yes, Mr. President, there is no Shabu laboratory inside the Bilibid prison, not even in the tunnels under it. Those who will search the tunnels will get a whiff not to the smell of cooking methamphetamine, but of methane that comes from the human waste of the prisoners above. Sa termino ko lang po bilang Justice Secretary nag-umpisang maglinis sa bilibid. Sa termino ko lang po giniba ang mga mararangyang kubol ng drug lords at naitapon sila sa Building 14, hiwalay sa mga ordinaryong presyo. But of course, all this has been sorely forgotten in the face of a formidable demolition campaign against me in the social media. And this is where I raise the matter of personal privilege. Mr. President, I have been vilified and attacked not only in social media, but also by the President's men as a drug lord coddler and protector. I have been ridiculed and called names in social media. Photos are photoshopped, videos are spliced, lies are manufactured. The magnitude of the propaganda and misinformation is mind-boggling, considering that this is all directed at me. The lies are intended to show me as protector of the beloved drug lords. But the truth is, I was the only Justice Secretary since the 1986 EDSA revolution who dared to eradicate the dominion of the drug lords inside Bilibid. I was put to task by no less than the Speaker of the House as a sitting senator of the same Congress that he leads. According to him, a resolution will be filed for an investigation on my alleged role in the proliferation of drugs inside the National Bilibid prison. Mr. President, this not only goes against interparliamentary courtesy, where the House of Representatives investigates a specific member of its co-equal Senate. It is an affront to the Senate as an institution committed by none other than the leader of its co-equal body in Congress. But I will not use that time-honored principle as my primary defense. My first defense is common sense. The Speaker of the House promised the investigation of the former Justice Secretary, the Secretary who has been sued and brought to court by the same drug lord subjected to a raid and then secluded inside NBP Building 14. The Speaker intends to investigate me, who, like the President and PNP Chief Bato de la Rosa, also received death threats from drug lords, for my success in isolating them from the rest of the prisoners and for preventing them from further conducting their drug trade operations from within the walls of the National Penitentiary. My defense against the Speaker's call for my investigation in the House is not interparliamentary courtesy. That is your defense, Mr. President, when you defend me as a Senator of the Republic and this Senate as an institution from this blatant break of tradition and courtesy between the two houses, and whenever you decide to demand an end to all this foolishness before it blows up in our faces, as I so respectfully request now, Mr. President. My defense against all this vilification is my untarnished record and reputation as a public servant. Before this demolition job was launched against me, both in the social media and by the Solicitor General. My defense is my selfless dedication as the chairperson of the Commission on Human Rights, as a Secretary of Justice, and now as Senator of the Republic. Unlike the well-oiled social media operation that has been singularly organized to cause my vilification, I have no money. I have no resources. My friends consider it as a blessing that I was elected senator through sheer determination and the generosity of relatives, friends, and supporters. Last Friday, Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre claimed that high-ranking DOJ officials from the previous administration were in the payroll of the NBP drug lords. Secretary Aguirre did not mention any name or my name, but going by the previous statements of the Solicitor General and the Speaker, one does not have to be a genius to guess who he is referring to. I am outraged that he has qualified this matter-of-fact statement with the actual truth, that he has yet to create a task force that will yet conduct an actual investigation on his foregone conclusion that indeed there were payoffs to DOJ officials. Mr. President,